What's up, Bridal Babes? I hope you're ready for another exciting episode of your favorite local wedding show, Bridal Buzz. I'm your host, Kat, and today we're joined in the studio with Anne from Girl General. She's here to talk to us all things stationery, all things that you need to know about the differences between buying in person, online, and everything in between. So we're really excited to hear from her. But with that, let's get started. And before we get started, Bridal Babes, I just want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Limelight Photography and Video. You're going to hear more about them as we get going, but let's get into the meat and why we're here today. And thank you so much for joining us. Why don't we start off with a little bit about you and your history behind Girl General?
Thanks for having me first and foremost, and
Yes.
I agree, Limelight's awesome. I have been in the stationery business for 15 years, and we specialize in couture wedding stationery in addition to other things like accessories, branding, napkins, cups, koozies. So kind of all things that relate to marketing of your wedding, because generationally you guys get marketing and cool branding. And so we really perceive ourselves to be, in addition to being your wedding stationer, people who help support your marketing side of your wedding.
Oh, love that. And tell me a little bit about what stationery is. You mentioned cups and koozies. So
Sure.
is that
Okay.
not considered stationery?
So that's a great question, because generationally, like I come from a generation, the last generation of people who had a lot of cotillion stationery, party invitations. You sent an invitation, and with the evolution of the internet and social media, you know, most people getting married right now, they don't have a lot of opportunities to receive something in the mail. So with us, we are the individuals that kind of kick off your wedding day, and we do that with paper. And so that's usually an invitation with a response set, a details card or something along those lines. And that's even become really interesting as well, because QR codes since COVID have come into play. So sometimes we're even utilizing QR codes with the wedding stationery. But what makes our category really an interesting category, and a category that's often not thought of instantly, is that we actually set the expectation of your guest about kind of what you're going to do on your big day and what's going to happen. And there's a tone. We all read tone really well. And so when you put effort and thought into what you do, out of the gate, your people start to be like, hey, oh, this is really cool. I got a cool save the date. Right. I got to save the date, and it's giving me instructions. And oh, wait. Ooh, I've never seen anything like this. Because with the evolution of the internet, we don't get a lot of mail anymore.
Right.
We get a lot of bills, which makes it a bummer to go to the mailbox. But getting those really special things in the mail, when you get something cool, it's kind of like, hey, and you keep it. So
It makes you feel good to get like a personalized letter. Yeah.
Right. And so it's a priority. And also, if you reflect on things when you look around on social media and in magazines, you always, or more often than not, I don't want to say always, but you always see stationery. But it's not always initially talked about when you go to get married. Cool thing, you were asking about all things stationery. Cool thing is also branding. You see gobos with people that have the initials on the floor, or you see their napkins, and there's a theme. And there's an idea. And so that idea usually starts with us. And so when you work with a stationery professional, you have the opportunity to think through the process, because somebody is bringing that to your attention. And I don't know if you've ever, all events are beautiful, but you've ever been to an event where it's disjointed. There's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And it's just because there wasn't the opportunity to work through that flow.
Right.
And so what we perceive our jobs to be, in addition to providing stationery and all those other things, is we're helping you with your marketing flow. And that's a terrible way to frame it, but I think generationally it's important to say it that way. Your mom and your grandma, they were told what to do by their their elder.
Right.
And so in the last 20 years, the stationery business has really changed a lot. So they're always a little bit surprised, like, what? I don't understand marketing. And it's like, well, no, our goal is, in addition to you being a really good human and really excited about getting married, our job is to get butts in the seat.
Right.
And it's as simple as that.
And that brand that you build is something that you can carry forward with your family for the rest of your life.
Right. So there's, you'll see, and I'm sure you've seen this with your friend stuff. You'll see like crest, you'll see cool monograms that have been merged together. You'll see duograms. That's when it's like two initials, then they're integrated. There's really a lot of cool stuff. More often than not, a good designer can make you one based upon, what your family is all about. And what I love about this topic is like in Texas, brands, we have a ton of brands from ranches, and you'll find a young couple rolling in, and they might that's their business is ranches. So we create their brands. It's crazy. We have like 5 brands out there right now. We're really proud of on
an
cows.
Actual brand.
Right.
That's
right.
amazing.
Because it started somewhere after all this time. We've had the opportunity to do some really cool stuff.
And you said I've probably seen these before. Honestly, I think in my generation I've seen more people going online, and that's the reason I wanted to bring you in here, because I think this branding is very important. It's such a big part of working with someone on your caliber that you can't really find online.
It's a heartbreaking thing to say, but I'm just gonna put it out there in the universe. Online was built. That is a great business model if you need to get in and get out quickly. Yeah. And I would never want to diminish somebody's strategy for purchasing stationery. But the problem is when you pursue product online, you're actually not working with a graphic person. You're actually not working with, a team of people that understands the language, because stationery is about language. You're in the end working with an engineer who can only fit 24 characters on that top line. And if you have a really long name, it's going to suggest together with our families. Well, that is a great option. But the thing is that as parents, we pride ourselves on, being involved in that special day for our sons and daughters. And so all of a sudden, the trend looks like that you're supposed to stay together with our families.
Right.
Well, the truth of the matter is that's not how it works. Your parents, they've been involved in your entire life. Why wouldn't they be involved in this? And, you could talk about means and who's paying for it. And that is a component of it. But you have to really consider that you're sliding the people that have raised you. Yeah. So, and that is all in an effort to do something fast and quick and easy. And you aren't really talking to a graphic person or a specialist. You're talking to an engineer who doesn't want you to put in that effort. And I know that's a lot of information to absorb, but the truth of the matter is that's what it is. Yeah. I would challenge anybody to go online, and 60-70% of it is together with our families.
Yes.
And, another really cool thing that people don't necessarily talk about is back in the day, you would just have who paid for it. Well, I think as modern brides, you should include all family, because two families are uniting. Yeah. It's a historical document. In your lifetimes, you're not going to have a ton of paper. So it's actually a historical document, and not including all of the people that are bringing y'all together in love. It's just... it's maybe a bad idea and something you should really think through. Yeah. So that's just my perspective. There's probably other people who feel entirely different, but I feel like the perspective of Girl General is that we want to be relevant and progressive as it stands with stationery. Yeah. You shouldn't disinclude somebody.
Yeah. And 100% I agree with the historical document. Yeah. There's not a lot of things you're going to be able to keep from that day. Right. The flowers will die. Maybe you put them in some resin, but it's not the same, Sure. Having that paper, it's going to stay good.
And it's funny, if you ask any stationery person how often we hear, they just throw them away. Yep, about 70% do, but about 30% keep them. And when people who really love paper come in, they have stacks of stationery, and they're able to, they don't necessarily know the language that they need to explain to us, but they're able to show us what made them feel good about each event. And then they can describe and give you details. And I think that is such an interesting variable to this discussion is that they're almost like touchstones to a really special day for somebody. So yes, we love it. And, everybody has different priorities, but for us, we think that with a cohesive branding, it's just a good strategy from beginning to end. You keep the colors the same, you keep the tones if you're going to run warm,
textures
and white. Yeah, it's just a good strategy. And so if, people come and see us or not, please think through that and how, you strategize from your save the dates to your wedding napkins that are, with your cake.
Yeah. So how do you start the process? Do you work mainly with the bride and the mom? Do you work with planners?
So all of the above. Okay. We're really we're really grateful that we have the opportunity to work with a lot of really cool people. Most people reach out on Instagram or through Facebook or our website. And so we work by appointment only because we spend half of our time designing and half of our time producing. And so we always like to start with a little bit of a questionnaire because we want to make sure you know what you're doing when you come in, like knowing your count. Lots of people conflate the number of people with the number of households. Well, if you're inviting 200 people and lots of them are single people, you might need 120 invitations. If you're inviting 100 people, but most of them are families, you might need 80. So we're like big fans of you having your own strategy because everywhere every bride and groom goes, people are like, what's your count? And how many people are you anticipating? And here's an interesting side note, just because I thought of it as we were talking. Since COVID, nobody's declining. So it's like a 5 to 7% decline rate, unless they have COVID, of course. But so previously, like 19 and back, your decline rate was 15 to 20%, which you could almost anticipate it on a dime. And if it was an out-of-town wedding, it was 40 to 50%. Yeah. Now the numbers are ridiculous. Yep. And so, hey, you guys, y'all need to know that. And nobody's talking about that. And so it becomes a surprise variable on your budget.
And we at least know now. My fiance's stepsister got married in December of last year, and she invited 200. I think 197 of them showed
right.
up.
And so you're kind of like, wait, they said, people said no. Oh, no, they're not saying no.
They want a party.
They want to come. It's so, COVID was so impactful, and people want to be part of your big event. Yes. And so that's what makes it so exciting, but also really having a good sense of your count and where you want to be budget-wise is a big priority for understanding that. So food for thought, just no, nobody's saying no, and we don't think they're going to say no for a while.
Right. Invite people who you think are probably going to say yes.
Right.
Before we keep going, I just want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor again, Limelight Photography and Video. This is an amazing option for you guys in San Antonio for your photo and your video solutions for your wedding day. Amazing timeless photography and video. Limelight has multiple people who are ready to help you out. So check them out today on sanantonioweddings.com, Limelight Photography and Video. Okay, Anne, back to you. Let's talk about trends. So are there trends that you are seeing? I know we talked about the online, the together with our families. Sure. This is a trend that we're like both not into.
Right. Not
but it's not even an intentional one. People are not even realizing this is almost forced upon them without even thinking about it.
Right. And so, how often do you order wedding invitations? How often do you strategize for a wedding?
For me, I hope only once.
Right. Well, for most people, that second round is always a little bit different. And so to that point, you don't know the rules of engagement. And without knowing the rules of engagement, you accept it as is. Right. And so, to that point, ask us. Even if you don't work with us, we love to help people because, I can't stand it when I go and I'm a consumer and I need information about something and I can't find the information out. And I seek people who can tell me. Right now, I'm actually trying to buy an electric bike, and it's like the most traumatic thing in the universe because I want to talk to the experts, and everybody just knows how to sell the electric bike. Well, I want to understand the why on the electric bike. So I would say, related to stationery and related to branding and stuff like that, ask us. We're going to answer your questions. I think that the distribution of knowledge is important, and especially when you're spending for your big day. Right. Hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Facebook. Shoot us an email. We'll tell you. We'll give you direction, even if you don't work with us, because it's important to us as a brand. Yeah.
What about trends that you might be seeing that you are totally into?
Right now, we're doing a ton of belly bands, like vellum wrap, where vellum is really resurfaced. That's that really yummy opaque paper. And in some instances, you wrap it around an invitation, or you create like a belt, and then you throw a wax seal on them. Color. I love color.
Me too.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm in black, so that isn't really helpful. But, color really is kind of a big deal right now. We're seeing lots of emeralds for our winter stuff. Navy will be, it's a tried and true.
Full page color? Or?
Yeah, and then we'll foil it or we'll engrave it, or just depending on the process, we'll give a high level contrast. It's really impactful. It's kind of more for that dramatic or moodier soul. That traditionalist isn't going to enjoy color as much, but to that point on color, so we spend a lot of time as women, we focus a lot on makeup and accenting and for us, it's the liner. Most envelopes, wherever you go, if you have the opportunity to throw a little liner in there, it really gives your invitation eyelashes.
And that's what's on the inside.
That's on the inside of the envelope.
Wow.
And so it's just a thoughtful detail that's not overly, it's not a budget killer, but it gives you that level of contrast. It shows the party. It can show you the party side, and if you want a really traditional invitation, you can keep that traditional. And it shows like the different dimensions of your personality or the couple's personality. And so that's kind of always the tried and true fallbacks is vellum, wax seals. Oh my goodness. There's a million things you can do with wax seals. And so we'll teach you how to use your own, like you can order a wax sealer with us. We'll make you a custom one, and then we'll teach you how to use it.
With your brand?
With your brand.
Ooh,
because then you take it forward onto other things, for your wedding, you can, let's say, you could even make them and put on them in your place setting on your napkin tie. I mean, there's a million different things that can be done if you just have the opportunity to think through and talk about it and see. Without seeing, you don't know. And to that point, I really struggle with how do you know how something feels if you never touch
That's what
paper?
I was about to say.
Right.
The feel of it is so important.
Right. So without knocking any specific brand and, giving you a little bit of background on production, there's different types of printers and how they drop ink changes how paper appears. And so these printers dictate the type of paper. Well, if you don't really want a glossy, slick wedding invitation, and you'll find more often than not, that's what sometimes you end up with is not what you thought. It feels more like an advertisement versus something for your really special day. So ask for samples, go in and see, visit people, ask somebody, hey, do you keep your wedding invitations? Can I feel them? Can I see them? Where did you get them from? Tell me a little bit about them. Which one did you like the most? Because I think a curious mind is the most successful mind.
Yes.
And that's our challenge to everybody is go see, go look, check people's Instagram feeds, hashtag, those things and see, because we think it's a really important variable.
And you guys have a storefront, Girl General.
We do. We have a studio downtown San Antonio at the corner of Broadway and Travis. We've had retail stores for a long time, but COVID.
Dun, dun, dun.
But we've discovered that we really like the studio environment because it allows us to feature every variable. And when you hang out with us, it's uninterrupted. There might be a phone call and there might, but there's somebody always managing that, but it's kind of a lot of one-on-one time. And you need to think. Everybody needs to think and strategize and prioritize. And, we don't even necessarily let you look at the stationery out of the gates. We want to talk to you about your strategy.
Right.
What's your timeline?
Do that questionnaire
first.
Yeah.
What's your timeline? What's your expectation of sending them out? What did your caterer say about response time? Who's collecting them? Is your planner collecting them? Are you collecting them? Oh, interesting side note. Just made me think. Sorry, the ADD is bad.
Bring it on.
So Wedding Planners offers this amazing service. They'll take collection of the save the dates, but here's just a little tip for all brides and grooms. Let mama collect them unless she's the most she wants to punt the football to the planner. And the reason why is that it reinforces their excitement about throwing this really big celebration. And people usually write little notes. When we do our jobs well, you'll have at least 15 notes on there from your guests. Aww. And it really reinforces to that person who's invested for their son or their daughter, we're so excited. And it reinforces to mom and dad or whomever, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
There's a goal. And so it's not at all ever an opportunity to slight somebody else. It just really helps reinforce with a comptroller. We call moms and dads comptrollers, or the person paying, by the way, the comptroller, because they kind of oversee the budget a little bit. And so it really reinforces, it's a positive thing for them. And they need those little positive kicks here and there. And so just weird side note.
Knowing people they're hosting really care too.
Yeah, for sure. And, their friends will say something, or their friends will call them. And it's just in the middle of a lot of chaos. You usually send a wedding invitation post-COVID, about 8 weeks before the wedding. Pre-COVID, it was 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding. They need that. Yeah. And it's a small thing. And then they can give them to the planner, and the planner can organize from there, or they can organize whomever's in charge.
Okay, good tip. If people are wanting to come to your store or request more info, is that an appointment only thing?
So right now we are working by appointment because we are our own production team and design team, and we actually do the work ourselves. Juliana, our head graphic designer, because it's a team of graphic designers, she illustrates. Our calligrapher illustrates as well in watercolors. So we unfortunately just can't receive guests. Also, too, we want to have a strategy with you.
Right.
And so if you want an appointment, like an official appointment, we strategize with you. If you just need to come and see if we're your cup of tea, great, no problem. But we ask politely that you hit us up and say, hey, I'd like to come on Tuesday, or can we make a time? And then what we'll do is we'll send you instructions. We're in downtown San Antonio, and lots of people are like, oh my gosh, you're in downtown San Antonio. Well, we've made it easy. We'll send you a text. We'll tell you what to do, where to park. We take care of your parking. It's super, super easy.
Yeah.
But we do require that you schedule with us. And just to that point, we're taking care of clients as well. And so we don't want their projects to be disjointed either. And so just like you would want us to take care of you, we've got to take care of our other people while trying to manage that. We're hoping in the future that we can have permanent open hours, but for probably the rest, honestly, of 2022, we're going to roll like how we've been doing it. It's been it works out. People get a lot of great one-on-one time. You can ask me, it's typically me. You can ask me any question that you want. I'll answer, and I'll answer even if it's a painful answer and you don't want to hear it, I'm going to tell you. Because that is the thing, is that we shouldn't always be the yes people. We should always be the hey,
honest people.
Yeah, here, this, you might want to reconsider this, and you might want to think about this. I can't tell you how often I'm like, wait a minute, you need to think about including your parents on the wedding invitation, and people look at me with like kind of grumpy eyes, and I'm like, no, really, it matters, because I would challenge your previous brides and grooms that went a different way, how that went over with mom and dad or went over with groom's side. It's really interesting. There's strategy in invitations, and people forget to, what is the point of a wedding? The point of a wedding is to, of course, go before, if you're a religious soul, before God and unite. It's also to set a new family up. And so when you set a new family up, you need to create a balance of guests. And, people in my age bracket, we're at a different place in our lives. So we're able to set that bride and groom up a little bit differently than a 23-year-old that's just left school with debt loads. So, even that is strategy. And so we like to tell you, hey, listen, think of this, consider this. We don't need to be right. That's the most interesting thing. We don't need to be right. We need you to know, and we need you to be curious, and we need you to ask questions and be mindful of what's going on, because there's so much input when you announce you're getting married, and then the next thing you know, you're flooded with marketing and media, and people are telling you what to do and
asking you questions you don't know the answers.
Telling you these awful stories. And it's just it's so fascinating, and that is because you only do this once. Usually, I mean, if you do it a couple times, that's okay. There's space in the universe for you as well, and it's okay.
But the big wedding typically is the first.
The first one. Yeah. Yes.
So if you had one last piece of advice to leave with our couples today, that would be like the biggest thing you want couples to think about when approaching their stationery.
Don't procrastinate.
Ooh. What would be a good timeline, you think?
Depends on if you're sending the save the date. So the number one question we're asked, When do I send the save the date? If you're doing a fall wedding, I would really recommend 9 to 12 months out. If you're doing a winter, early spring, 6 to 12 is cool. It's based upon the time frame that you're marrying. And that is not the answer most people want. They want this timeline. It's strategy. And I think in a social media age, top of mind awareness and what's happening, it's what's next. Right. If you get too deep out, you're too deep out. If you get too far in, you've missed the opportunity. So it's really strategizing based upon your date. So that's not a good answer, and I recognize that. But I think that
you have to think about it.
You have to think about it. Sending an invitation between Memorial Day and the 4th of July is insanity to me. Try not to do it, because that is official summer. Once the 4th of July happens, July 5th, it's like it changes. The universe changes. You can almost feel in the air. People say I'm crazy when I say this, but I would maintain that the mindset changes. Just like you would never send an invitation if you don't have to. And again, that's if you don't have to, in between like December 1st and December 24th. December 26th, you mail them out. You get them in play because people are excited.
They'll be home again,
and
too.
They need something to look forward to, because now the excitement of the holidays is gone.
Aww.
And so to that point, that's my thing, is procrastinate so you have options. Don't procrastinate. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Don't procrastinate so you have options and you don't feel pressed for time, because interestingly enough, we perceive our category to be a big priority. The RSVP card, it dictates how much you spend on your bar, how much you spend on your food, how many tables you need, how many linens. Lots of people are like, well, I don't need any RSVP card. They'll respond online. That is social insanity.
Yeah.
Do not, please. That's my official advice. Please consider RSVPing.
Physical.
Yes, because you're setting an expectation to your guests.
Yeah.
And if you ask somebody to RSVP online, it's lowering their expectation and their responsibility to you. And it's harming your budget. And if 10 extra people show up to your wedding and you've only made space for 5 extra people, all of a sudden you don't have enough tables, you don't have enough chairs, you don't have all the things that you need to relax and be comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's surprising. How often has this happened to you? I totally texted you back. And you're like, no, you didn't. I know you did not text me back. Look, here's my cell phone. And you're like,
or like,
see.
I saw it and I meant to text you back and then I just totally forgot. I feel like that could easily happen with an online RSVP.
Right. Well, so for accountability's sake, anywhere else, I'm all in on that.
Yeah.
But for accountability's sake, you get to dictate the terms of the expectations you want from your friends and family. You need to establish what your expectations is, and you need to execute that. Yeah. It is critical mass, because it's money. And the invitations on the branding side is really important, but it's also helping you plan your budget. So hopefully that is helpful without sounding like too bossy.
No, I think everything that you left in this episode is going to be incredibly helpful for couples planning their weddings, considering you for their stationery solution. I am benefiting from this episode.
Oh, good.
So thanks again for coming in. And if they want to find you online, where's the best way to do that?
Our handles are at The Girl General, and then our website is thegirlgeneral.com. We're about to go back into another overhaul of that, but we focus a lot on Instagram and Facebook. So I know Facebook is for old people, but food for thought, the comptrollers are old people. So, and Instagram is definitely for you guys. Also, we work with you guys and other reputable sites in our city to kind of reinforce.
They are on sanantonioweddings.com.
Yes. So, cool.
Perfect. Well, bridal babes, don't forget, the buzz doesn't have to stop here. We are everywhere online, just like Anne. TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, you name it, you can find us. Don't forget today's sponsor, Limelight Photography and Video, and go check out Girl General. This stationery company is incredible, and you are going to learn so much and potentially even get an incredible solution for your wedding. So with that, let's go ahead and say goodbye.
Bye.